That little beep.
It was, yeah.
I think you're supposed to do that.
Yeah, I'm legally supposed to inform you that we're being recorded now. So please note this in case later there's libelous backlash.
Right. Okay.
Hey, let's play. I want to play a little game before we start the show.
Okay.
Here's the game. It's easy to play. Everyone's participated in it, even though at the time you didn't know you were playing the game. Fred, would you like to play this game?
I'd love to. Let's play.
It's called Seniors Moments. Senior Moments. Or Seniors. Should it be Seniors? Because there's three of us. How about just Senior Moments with Humble Fred and Dan?
All right.
I'll give you a second to think about it. I mean, the classic one, and I was talking about this with our, I would call him the godfather of our show, former sales manager Bill Hertz yesterday. Mm-hmm. And we were just talking about some things, as you change. And the guy's, he's 78 years old. He's just incredible. Like, he's in such great shape. It's a bit intimidating,
Yes.
So, the classics, say, senior moment. You walk into a room. I'm not sure if this has happened to you. Where you walk into a room and just for a second, you're not sure why you're there.
Yeah.
Has that happened to you, Fred?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, of course. Why you're there or what?
Yeah, why? You just kind of walk in and like, oh, what was I? What is it I was coming into this room to get?
Right. Of course.
Okay.
Quite often, yes. Mm-hmm.
So do you have any others? Because I have one, I was saying this to Bill, that is just so weird to me, but happening, not regularly, but it happens, where I will go to put on deodorant and realize I've already put on deodorant, or I won't remember having put the deodorant on. Has that ever happened to anyone, or is that just me?
Oh, absolutely.
No,
I do that with.
You do that with what?
I do that with my fish oil and vitamin.
Oh, I forgot. You have quite a beauty regime.
No. I just, some days, it becomes part of your routine when I get up in the morning, and sometimes it's like, did I take it or not, right? And I have to grab the bottle and shake it out and grab one of each.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're talking about taking a supplement.
What?
Yes.
Yes.
And then on the way downstairs, I'll go, did I take those? Because I don't want to, it won't kill me if I double up, but I don't want to. Did I take that? You're doing this like sort of subconsciously.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's an aging thing or...
No, but I think that is what it is. Subconsciously, I'm not aware because it's such a routine. But several times, and most recently, this is why I was talking about it with the Bill, it happened yesterday that I wasn't sure if I put deodorant on, so I have to go and like, oh yeah, there's deodorant on that pit. And by the way, just for you people that are wondering, that left armpit of mine is still gone rogue. Still gone rogue.
Really?
Oh yeah. Still doesn't. I came out of the shower yesterday, and this armpit, I smelled it, and it didn't smell as clean as the other one. Dan, I can't wait. Dan, has anything ever happened to you?
Oh yeah, I had one of those yesterday. Today's the day they pump the poo out of the trailers.
Oh, this is one of my favorite day of the week.
Yeah, and you've got to put a tag in a thing, a little box down by the entrance, so that they know that you want your poo pumped, right?
Okay.
So I, not wanting to forget this yesterday, went out and said, okay, now I remembered, I'm going to go and do this while I'm remembering, and put the tag on my windshield.
Okay.
About 2 hours later, I thought, I better do this right away. I better go and get the tag off and put it in my windshield.
I love that.
I looked for the tag. I couldn't find the tag because it was already on the windshield. And I looked around at all the possible spots it could be. Then, on the way out, I went to put the tag in the thing there. I put the tag in, and I saw a friend come down the road and says, hey, don't forget to put your poo tag in the thing there because it's on your windshield. And oh, no, because I put the park pass into the poo tag bin as opposed to the poo tag. So now I had to figure out how to get my park pass back. And yeah, so and then it was a senior's moment right there.
Yeah, I've done that.
Got all that?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But I've never wanted my poop pumped. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
That's funny. And you guys at the park put a tag there? Okay, it's poo pumpy time. No wonder you're like so excited about Wednesdays. Hey, Fred, do you want to go
okay,
first?
Dad.
Yeah.
Someone pumped my poo. But I'm a little confused there. So you meant to put the poo tag on, or the poo park tag, but you put your park pass instead.
Yeah, I've done that.
Because they look similar?
Yeah.
Yes. Same dimensions. They're marked differently, but, in your haste, when you're doing this and doing that. And
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
sometimes just grab the wrong one. I've only done it once, but yes, I did it. And I didn't realize it till I got home, so I had to call the park and say, hey, my park pass is in there, which means I do want my poop pumped. Okay.
I do want my pass back so I can get back in.
Now,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, this has been a fun little episode with Humble Fred and Dan of Seniors Moments. I've done this recently where I've gone back upstairs to get my keys, and they were in my back pocket. Done that a bunch of times.
Yeah.
You
Well,
think I'd feel them back there, but I'd lost feeling in my right ass.
I've had a lifetime struggle with keys.
Here's one I've done quite often. In my Kia, you have your key fob.
Yeah.
But if the battery gets low and it won't start your car, there's this little thing in the middle compartment there that you can just sort of plug it into, and then it supplies a little bit of power. So when you press the button, the car starts. Well, a few times I've gone to start my car, and it won't start because the battery's low, and I keep thinking, I got to replace this battery. So I shove it in that little thing, and then I get to my destination, and I can't find my keys.
I know.
Seriously.
I know.
More than once I've done that.
Yeah, that's
What have I done with my keys? Where are my keys? The car wouldn't start without the keys, and then it hits me.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of them like that. Okay, well, this is Dan. We got a little fun to start the show.
We did, yeah.
If I may say respectfully, that scene behind you always is like a painting. It's just beautiful. And may I also say how lucky, again, I was trying to say this yesterday until you took a flamethrower to me, how lucky it is you get to sit there, because it is my favorite thing about going up north. That time in the morning, just coming out in the morning with your coffee and just when everything is calm. I mean, it's just ridiculous how beautiful this place is.
Well, Howard, thank you for the redux on this.
This is what I was trying to say yesterday before I got.
Right, and let me say,
I walked into a Jeffrey Ross buzzsaw.
Well, you're caring and concern for your fellow man, especially myself.
Thanks.
And Fred is really heartwarming.
You're two of my favorite people.
Yeah, and it's nice that you come out with these kinds of things.
I try to, I'm trying to just, lay
You're
it out
a full, rich human being.
Thanks, pal. Any idea who's on the show today? I do. Yes. Chef Jordan Wagman, who's also a very kind person. Very nice person, Chef Jordan. And, of course, the Sherpa. And Mike Boone is going to pop in.
Oh, yeah, it's a short week.
It is a short week. Humble and Fred, it's Friday. It's Thursday Junior, Dan.
Well, we're going to help pull Mike Boone through a controversy.
Yes.
Something to do with mistaken identity and him being slandered. And he'll walk us through it.
It'll be like the January 6th hearings.
Yes, it will.
But only for some local radio people.
Mm-hmm. But Mike is quite affected by this because he's a sweet, soft, decent young man, and some of the things he's been accused of by people who haven't done their sort of due diligence is quite shocking. So
and unfortunate.
He's our buddy. He's our producer. So we'll lay it all out and analyze it.
Yeah, and it'll be like we'll be co-chairs of this committee. And I don't care. Listen, I'll be Liz Cheney. She's a monster. Or I like Benny T. The problem with Benny T, that's Benny Thompson. The problem with Benny T, and he's well articulate, but he's not as good a reader as Liz Cheney. So whenever he cedes the time to the gentlewoman from Wyoming, I love that. But she just seems a bit, she has that sort of, she's reading it off the prompter, but Dan, you'll appreciate this. She's really good at it. Her eyes can look around while continuing to see where she is, but not Benny T.
No, I was looking at that because he's very excellent enunciation.
Yes,
his words, and he completes all the words and speaks slow enough to do that. But yeah, I've noticed that Cheney. So is she actually the telltale signs of looking at a prompter is what I'm always looking for, right?
What were we going to say there, Freddie?
I was going to say if ever there was a person that the Republican Party should embrace, based on the ability to get people from the other side to come on over, that's the person. Yeah. But of course, she's being, by the usual suspects, being slammed and insulted and degraded by the far right of that party, and it's such a shame.
It is.
Again, she's someone that a middle-of-the-road Democrat might go, you know what? I might go that way this time.
I might. Again, based on just how level-headed and articulate and moderate and the fact that she's there because she thinks it's the right thing to do. And not to take this into the world of golf, but one of the big pushbacks yesterday at the U.S. Open, all these guys, press conferences and being asked about this new, the evil Saudi Golf League. But the pushback from the guys that are staying on the PGA Tour, Rory McIlroy, Jon Rahm, some of the biggest names, is just basically they think it's the right thing to do. That taking money from a regime, directly from a regime, I mean, you can talk the politics of hypocrisy all you want, but this is funneling money from the regime that flew these planes, allegedly, into the towers. Some of those guys think, okay, I've got enough money, and that isn't the right thing to do. And that's why she resonates with so many people.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, I totally agree. A little attachment to that. I mean, I thought we might get to this later, but I'll just mention it because it's similar. I'm reading an article this morning, a Leger poll that has come out. And in Canada, NDP and Liberal voters, they polled them on who they would like to see become the Conservative leader. And Jean Charest and Patrick Brown finished way ahead of Poilievre. Mm-hmm. Yet Poilievre within the Conservative Party is leaps and bounds ahead. But this is very important for what I said about Liz Cheney. You gotta look at those polls because Brown and Charest are the type of guys that a Liberal who maybe doesn't like Trudeau or can't make up his mind or might be willing to come over to the other side, they would vote for. But Poilievre, no. Very significant in the world of politics, obviously, to worry about or think about how you can win the other side over. And to me, she's it.
Well, we can. Let's put a pin in this now, and let's put a little pin in this, and we'll unpack it later, and we'll take it out when it's lunchtime. No, we're gonna. That's obviously what some of the things we're going to be talking about today. Dan Duran's news and so much more. I mentioned the retirement Sherpa. There's some perspective you're going to want to hang around for, but first, here's Dan Duran.
This episode of Humble and Fred is being broadcast to the world from Humble and Fred Studios in Toronto and from lusty Lovesick Lake, and is brought to you by Bodog, Gig Sky, the Retirement Sherpa, the Chambers Plan, Health Gauge, Relaxacare, and DraftKings. And now here are two men who are taking this fine weather we're having as a reminder that winter is coming, so are now making plans to go somewhere warm, then to complain about the weather. It's Humble and Fred.
Thank you, Dan Duran. Speaking of Relaxacare, the daily ritual now, I've been playing just a lot of golf. The last couple of weeks, it's just gone crazy. There's been events and things I've had to attend. This isn't just willy-nilly. And my routine, Freddie, is I get home and then, get cleaned up. And I get into this chair. Go to relaxacare.ca. The chair, by the way, someone's asked me what chair I have. It's called the Symphony. Now, I can tell you, I went into this, everything, I think people know the story. I went in there, I bought the chair, and then we did this deal so that other people, Humble and Fred listeners, and by the way, I heard from him. I know I'm on 3 tangents now, but some Humble and Fred listeners have actually gone into Relaxacare in person to check out their inventory because it's massive. The most in Toronto. Everything's in-house. The showroom has the largest number of massage chairs. No other place can touch it. But you can also order online. And I can just tell you, I've been getting massages for a long time, but this chair is different. Yeah, if you think you miss the human touch, what you get in the chair is that you're getting multiple points of pressure in a variety of ways. And, I was beat when I got home last night. And after dinner, when I was watching, some golf, I took like a half an hour. And I can tell you, you've known me a long time. My back is generally brutal in the summertime. I'm taking Advil every day. A couple of summers ago, I took this high-octane stuff called Toradol, ripped my stomach apart. This year, and this is the truth, I haven't taken a fraction as many anti-inflammatories. And I know it's because I'm getting this sort of treatment every day. You can too. Relaxacare.ca. Go check these people out, okay?
And check this out.
Check it.
At the Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan, chamberplan.ca is where to go. It's Canada's #1 group benefits plan for small business. What I like to do sometimes is go to chamberplan.ca and read the testimonials, and I'm not kidding, because they're updated all the time. And it's the feedback from small companies that have bought in, so to speak, become subscribers, and what it's done for them. And, near the top of the list is the attitude of your employees, how much they appreciate the fact that you have taken this step. A lot of small businesses, it goes without saying, no, we don't have benefits, we're too small. Well, does it need to be that way? Does not need to be that way. Small business can have a benefits package, and the Chamber Plan can show you the way. Take the time today. Do it. Chamberplan.ca.
I would have put music behind you. I was actually looking for some here, but then my Spotify just froze. That's okay. Here we go. How about this? Just want to make sure it's working.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
Yes.
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Of course, I'd have to choose something that has a really quiet intro. I know we're going to get to our emails, and I know we want to talk a little politics. Just quickly, though. And we're going to do our emails, too. I knew there was another item. I'm sure we've mentioned it on this show, but not recently. There's an American culture writer named Bob Lefsetz, and he puts out a letter every day, and it's usually about the music industry, a lot of politics as well. He's a liberal guy, gets a lot of pushback, from the right wing, and he's also a very well-connected music guy. We first met him 10 years ago. He was up here for Canadian Music Week. We went over and said hi. The reason I bring it up,
the show.
He was on our show. That's right.
Yeah,
we did the show in the lobby.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's who he is. And the reason I'm bringing it up this morning is for some reason he's got a Sirius XM show. I'm not sure when it runs, Bob. If you've ever heard of this, I apologize. But he puts out a playlist from his show that he does. And it's favorite Canadian act playlist. And you know what I'm going to do? Just so you can look at it, because it's too many artists. I'm just going to send it to you right now. And I was just interested to, and of course, he's a music guy way on the inside. He would obviously know a lot of Canadian artists. He's been coming up here for years.
Right.
But I found it interesting, some of the choices that he made. Some of them are obvious. Do you have I just sent it to you, so have a look at it. Some are obvious. Rush, Fly By Night. Diana Krall, The Look of Love. Alanis Morissette, Hand in My Pocket. But some, New Orleans is Sinking, the Tragically Hip. But I like some of the, almost like the album cuts. That's what we used to call them. You know, he like the deep cuts on different songs. I just thought it was interesting. And, you know, all the artists are there. And some obscure ones that I wouldn't have thought he would, you know, be aware of. The Pursuit of Happiness. Martha and the Muffins.
I still haven't received it yet.
Well, you should have.
Proceed.
3 Days Grace.
Okay.
Kim Mitchell. Like, you've got to be really into Canadian music, you know, at a more than just passing level, to know about Kim Mitchell and Go for a Soda, you know?
Yeah, although he's been coming to Canadian Music Week for many, 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 many years, and I guess he gets some exposure that way to Canadian music.
Well, and the fact that he's a big, you know, music fan in general.
Sure.
You know, so all the big ones.
Yeah,
all the big ones, Leonard Cohen, the band, Joni Mitchell, those were easy ones. But the ones that intrigued me were like Kate and Anna McGarrigle. Not that they're obscure, but to an American writer, they might be. Shania Twain's in there.
I know the name, but I couldn't mention I wouldn't know a song.
Same
or
with
an
me.
album.
Another band he flags here are the Odds.
Right.
Anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up because I found it fascinating.
Yeah, that, you know, there's certain songs along the way. Memories of CFNY, back in the 90s, having all sorts of fun, and Heterosexual Man and Eat My Brain, 2 songs by the Odds that, especially Heterosexual Man.
No, I always love this song.
Just a great little tune. Oh, yeah.
Well, anyway, here's what I'll do, because, you know, we shouldn't talk about something if the audience doesn't have access to it, too. Maybe at some point this morning, during a lull, I'll get this list for you. It's an interesting one. Yeah, this is a great song.
Hey, don't worry about a lull.
Yeah, the whole show is a lull.
There'll be a few of them.
That's right. Okay, anyway, that's when you get it, you'll be fascinated by it, you know. I didn't know Deadmau 5 was Canadian. I think I did, and then I forgot, but then I saw it on the list. Is it you and I called it Deadmau5, right?
Well, that's... I forget. Isn't it called Deadmau5, but it's spelled differently, or is it actually pronounced Deadmau 5? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think we always screwed up. Whatever it was, we did the wrong one.
I think he's known as Deadmau5, but it's spelled
Deadmau 5. I think you and I called him Deadmau 5.
Yes.
But, yeah, whatever it is, we got it wrong. Okay? Sorry, grandpas are a little bit out of it. All right, as we do on the last day of the Humble and Fred week, which, as you know, from now until Labor Day will be 3 days a week because the old guys need even more time to recover in the summertime. We are happy to present...
Hi, guys.
all the people. There's a lot of reaction, but we'll get to just a few. Humble and Fred at humbleandfredradio.com. To begin with, Friedrich...
Well, we just want to acknowledge Darlene N., who she sent something in about Jon Stewart and his show, The Problem. And it was Judd Apatow on George Carlin. It's a must-see, according to Darlene. We will check it out. Thank you.
That's Darlene of the Baldwin Sisters. And always a pleasure to hear from you.
Hi, guys.
Next up is from... Ricky Manello. Hey, gentlemen, on Monday's show, June 13th, Howard mentioned that the price of cigarettes these days in Canada is close to $20 a pack. Australia, which Rick is writing us from, he says, Australia is one of the most expensive countries in the world to be a smoker, and despite the ridiculously high price, many people still do. Cigarettes here will set you back an eye-watering $40 to $50, 50 Australian dollars for a pack of 25, depending on the brand and where you get them from. As hard as it is to believe, that's not an exaggeration. As I type this, $1 Australian dollar is equivalent to about 90 Canadian cents or 70 US. So it's not like, so that would be about $35 to $40 for smokes. So if you're a pack-a-day smoker, which I was, easy. You know, I at some point, probably at my, smokiest, was a pack and a half a day. On a Friday or Saturday night, I'd go easily through a half a pack. So
wow.
Easily. When you're drinking and, carrying on.
Yes.
So think about that as a habit.
Oh.
Like, if
you just flat out, you think that's enough to quit. But
you
I guess
think
when you're hooked. It's, my goodness.
But Fredsy Doodle, at $20 a pack, if you're a pack-a-day smoker, that's $140 a week. It's $600 a month-ish.
$140 a week. That's a tank of gas now.
Oh, mine easily, yeah. No, for sure. Anyway, Rick Manello, thank you very much. Moving on.
Another contribution from the Baldwin sisters. Very active. So great to see that Jelly Bean, also known as Kenny Robinson, was on the show. Great cast, guys. Thank you very much, Baldwin sisters, again.
And why don't you continue just below it from the next section is from the radio industry.
All right. Hello, men. Perhaps I overstated that. This is from Dave Trafford, who used to be the news director at News Talk 1010. Hello, boys. Good for you. Good for you on your unvarnished Derringer take. Now, if you're interested in talking post-election, this was sent in some time ago.
Yeah,
we didn't take him up on it. Maybe in the future. He says he would be honored to come on the show. Isn't that something? A guy, listen, you got to be a pretty smart guy to be the news director at News Talk 1010, right? And now he's willing to come on this show. That's quite the statement.
It is quite the statement. You said to me,
anyway,
I asked you about this before, and you said you had never worked in the building with him?
Maybe, I can't remember really crossing paths with Dave Trafford. I don't, back in 2003 to 5 when I was there.
Yeah, I did. Not so much then, I can't remember, but I worked with him in the same building for 2 or 3 years. He's a fine gentleman, very, very professional. What he wants with this nonsense, I have no idea, but I did send him a note and saying we'd love to have him back and or have him on the show and see what the world of a former news director looks like.
And his take on, let's be honest, that station once loud and proud and, spared no expense to present the best news talk station has really been eroded over the past few years, obviously for budgeting reasons. We could talk about that.
Yeah. And as you say, he's a bright guy. And he's got a good perspective on the news of Ontario. He's been, covering it for a long time.
And he's, in some way, related to our sweet boy, Bingo Bob, who is the producer of our show for a few years. And we love Bobby. And he's been on our show, and we've been on his show. And somehow they're related. I wonder if family gatherings, they make fun of Bob's soft little hands.
Yeah, that's the first item on the table. And before we get started, everyone, let's talk about Bob's hands. They're impossibly soft. All right, this next one also from the radio industry, a name everyone knows, part of the Jesse and Jean show, which you tell me is no longer podcasting.
No, it seems that they've stopped, and last I looked, they actually unposted, deposted the show from all the aggregates.
They don't need this. They're and Jesse, they're both too busy.
Yeah.
So Gene says in response to something I had commented on during the beginning of the controversy surrounding the disgraced broadcaster John Derringer, and I had said something about something that Gene had posted. I said, just responded simply, "This is the worst kept secret in Toronto radio."
Right.
Gene responded to me, or to us. He said, "I had no idea. Mind you, I've been away from Toronto for a long time." This is Gene talking. I keep saying Dean. The intern story that we told about John not allowing his intern to drive our intern to work anymore because we wouldn't go down to get him coffee. He said that story was a jaw dropper. The whole thing reminds me of what happens after a mass shooting. The news crew shows up and the neighbors say he was a quiet man who just tended his garden, before he got into the church steeple and takes out, people with an assault rifle. He goes on to say, blah, blah, blah. The karma on this is off the Richter scale. And why? A morning radio show? You guys are sounding like as if to say, what, all of this was because you were just a big morning guy? You guys, this is the part that's important. You guys are sounding as great as ever. Jesse and I have 3 companies on the go that have nothing to do with radio or podcasting. And having old guy fun, which is nice to hear. Brother Jake, another broadcaster from the Toronto market years ago, he says, Brother Jake and I hang out a lot. It's a good life. Great to hear from you. And you know what? Good for him. Gene's a nice guy. He doesn't want to hurt anyone. Mm-hmm. He's a person who lives in a world without harming others, and good for him.
Hi, guys. Yes, he's a nice man. If I might just back up a bit.
Oh, sorry.
Something he put in that email, he said, just wait until Derringer's daughters are old enough to understand everything on the internet. It'll be there forever. And, not just John Derringer. I mean, the new world we live in, that is there forever. And that crossed my mind. Whether it's your children, your grandchildren, you've passed years from now, and maybe you're Googling, you want to find out a little bit about your ancestry, all that stuff's there now.
Yeah.
Just another reason to be conscious of what we're doing day to day, because the world has changed so much from that perspective. That is sad. I mean, mental abuse against women and these young girls who someday, well, they're probably aware of it now, unfortunately, but the gritty details in years to come, it's just a sad story.
I agree. I by the way, I omitted that part just because which I just did because I thought, okay, I don't want to get this all mixed up in that, but I agree. We've had conversations about, I think I once said to you, all I have left of my father's voice is a answering machine message that I keep. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's some video somewhere where I could, but our kids and their children, when Johnny Slapshot is a grandfather and he wants to show his grandkids what his grandpa sounded like, looked like, was, it'll still be there somewhere. You and I doing TV commercials in 1989, that will be there.
Did I tell you the story? I think I did back when I left Peterborough. Somebody went on my Wikipedia page. I know it was somebody from that building and wrote some horrible things at the end of my Wikipedia. Totally untrue. And I think I have an idea who would do it. But again, that sat there for a few weeks before somebody brought it to my attention. Mm-hmm. Number one, I didn't know that was possible. I guess the filters or whatever hadn't been put on to the extent they should be, and I could easily take it off. But again, it's just the new world we live in and the consequences of action. This guy didn't like me, so he did that to me for the world to see.
Yeah, and there's that element. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that should be diminished. I'm just saying, like, you and I, in terms of the Gene bringing up, that the daughters being able to one day fully grasp what this was all about. That's one element of it, but the fact that our kids can go and search, like you imagine, like, again, your parents, your father and mother, imagine being able to go and listen to them have a conversation. Just like we're having a conversation now. What if they go back and search this conversation? Oh, too many crossed in time. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Let's. There's a couple more here, and then we're going to. No, that's not what I wanted to play here.
Hi guys.
This next one. Do you want me to take it, or do you want to take it?
No, you go ahead.
Hey, Howard, Fred, unpaid intern. I just wanted to say I appreciate the talk this week about the pronoun discussion and how it was relating to Howard. Personally, I've noticed his use of the they-them pronouns in the last few months, and I was curious, and finding out it was related to a person in his life was actually cool to hear. I'm one of those non-binary people as well, and I do understand his struggles, as well as theirs, as it's hard to change something that has been his view, understanding, or whatever, all his life. Talking about me. Although I can't speak for that person in his life, it is nice to hear some acknowledgement of both of their struggles and his. Anyway, thanks for the content. Signed, simply, Andy.
Very nice.
Yeah, very nice. And I don't want to comment much further other than to say that in the past few months, as I said the other day, I try my best and I mess it up. But the way the relationship has changed is now when I mess it up, it's not as big a deal. It's treated like, sort of more like...
Right.
At first, it was like they were super offended. Not super, but you know what I mean? It bothered them more. Now they understand, like me and their mother and their grandmother and all that stuff. We're all just trying, right? And that's all you can do.
Right on.
One last one there, Frederick. Let's see. Here we go.
Hi guys.
This is from a woman named Jamie Lott, who was a receptionist at Yonge and Dundas when we were still at Chorus. That time between Chorus acquiring Q and Talk 640 and grouping them with CFNY. So it was a couple of year period, right? Am I correct in that?
No,
yes.
She was the receptionist while we were all together.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
so
yes.
That 2 year period that we were there, and
yes, I'm sorry. Yes,
it was
right.
acquired. Okay, just to make that clear, murky and clear. Really enjoyed your show this morning, guys. And no, this isn't the first time I've heard it or watched it, but I will admit it's been a couple of months. It really brought up a lot of suppressed memories. She's talking about the Derringer situation. She says, it brought up a lot of suppressed memories and stories of what my fellow co-workers and I endured. This is how deep this was. Thank you for using your platform to bring this further into light. It's about bloody fucking time that he and management be held accountable. So just imagine that. That's 20 years ago, and it brought up bad memories still for her, what she went through. And I had heard some stories about stuff in the reception area, stuff that you and I never dreamed of doing.
I know.
But were commonplace in reception because he, John, JD, and another big-voiced imbecile that used to slither around those halls would put her through. And she says, and thank you again, Fred, for trying to get me out of there and into Peterborough when you were the PD at the Wolf. Yes, I had forgot about that, but we tried to do that. You both are, and have always been top-notch broadcasters in my book. Cheers, my friends. And again, that's from Jamie Lott.
It's nice. It's nice to have that be part of, the legacy of our time in there with them. And mine too. I can appreciate that. I appreciate that that's how she sees us.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got another, I can't remember if I told it last week or the week before, but there's a Derringer story that I witnessed with Jamie and I. I don't want to get into it, but I'll just say it was weird, and it's something that as you say, we didn't know you were allowed to act that way. So, but it was one of those moments when it happened early on, and when we first met Jamie, and it sort of became kind of a running gag with her. And I just remember her just being such a good shit, and I would go, and we would hang around there and just joke, but just such a good person. Okay.
Yeah, there was an opening in Peterborough. I had forgotten that story, and at the receptionist, and she contacted me about maybe her coming up because she had a vacation property up here. Now she lives around here, I do believe. And we tried to swing that, but I think moving within Chorus, she would have been at a certain salary that they couldn't digest in Peterborough. I think that was the bottom line. So it didn't work out. If memory serves me correctly.
If my memory takes this order and serves it back to me in a correct manner. Hey, Fred. Let's say hi to our Gig Sky guest of the day.
Okay.
He's a frequent visitor to our program for a variety of reasons. The guy knows food. He's been giving us some great tips on different ways of preparing food. That's only part of the reason. But now we welcome back Chef Jordan Wagon Train. And now we welcome back. I had too much sleep last night. That's exactly what happened. Now we welcome back Chef Jordan Wagman because he's also such a good shit. Here we go now. Yeah, baby. Wow. Jordan's story is well known to Humble and Fred listeners by now. He had psoriasis and decided that he would find a way to combat that malady by changing his diet. And I have a couple questions about diet today with Chef Jordan. But first, let's say hello, Gig Sky guest of the day. Freddie, what does that mean to be the Gig Sky guest of the day?
Well, go to gigsky.com and you can find out all about how traveling becomes much more easier when using a GigSky. And the travel rewards are outstanding. Again, take the time today. Go to gigsky.com. Find out how you can have mobile data at a very affordable rate while traveling pretty much anywhere in this world. All right? gigsky.com.
Hey, Chef.
Hello, guys.
You look good, man.
Thank you, brother. I feel great. Can I tell you both how great the show is? Truly.
Yeah, you can spend all... Hey, listen, we'll turn our mics off. You just go.
You go.
Just go.
Yeah. It's actually become one of these, it's Smartless and Humble and Fred. That's what I listen to.
Well, I appreciate that.
It's great.
Wow.
Really great.
Well, you know what, Jordan, this is a segment that we doesn't happen very often, but when it does, we love it. We call it Why Do You Like Us? And this is where you sit down for about 10 or 15 minutes. No, I'm just kidding. So, when we first met you, you had spoken about this psoriasis connection and how food and getting rid of gluten and refined sugars and dairies have helped you bolster your immune system and reduce severely the effects of psoriasis. I just talked with my doctor a couple days ago. I've been having, I feel healthier than I have in years. Definitely, Freddie and I on this Noom diet, both of us have lost, Freddie close to 15 or more pounds. I've lost 12 to 14 pounds. But my stomach's been a bit off, and my doctor recommended some changes in my diet. And have you ever heard of this thing called the Bro barley, rye, oats, and wheat? You ever heard of that? Where
No.
you basically get rid of those food groups for a while just to give your gut flora a chance to recalibrate. Is that something similar to what you did? And do you have any thoughts on that?
I do, and I always put the disclaimer that although I tried to once upon a time, I do not even play a doctor on TV.
Okay. But from your personal experience.
Yeah, there's something called the autoimmune protocol, the AIP, which really is following that same sort of model, which is remove and then slowly integrate back. For me, I'll give you an example. Even the other night, I had some fried tortilla chips with some really crappy cheese on it. And I just was so hungry that it was the low-hanging fruit. I walked in, I was starving, it was there. I put some chicken breast on it. I felt it all night long. And I knew that would be the consequence, but I did it anyway. So I think, there are certain food stuff that I can integrate back. Tomatoes, for example, I've successfully integrated back into my system. Very few other ingredients. Gluten is not one. So I haven't heard of necessarily the Bro, but it's again, the same premise. Remove and then slowly integrate back. Find what it is. And that's really all about identifying the food and beverage that negatively impact you.
Wasn't that what that book Wheat Belly was about?
Kind of similar.
Yes, and Bill Maher is all over this. Don't bring up the word bread to him. Because
yes, and you know what? The one thing, and sorry to interrupt, the one thing I would say, And I don't know if this necessarily holds true, but it's certainly a premise that I work with. And that is, in North America, everything is so bloody refined that if Nona is making me bread in Italy, I'm not so sure that I necessarily am going to have the same reaction. I appreciate gluten is gluten, but is gluten the same from a heavily refined flour that I'm eating here versus, something that's been grown in Nona's backyard?
And this whole sugar thing too, it's just, again, it's a drug. It's so addictive. And again, when you see people in your life who seem to lean on sugar, it's not surprising that they battle a weight problem. And it's just, the more you eat, the more you want, right? And the more it affects you.
It's a horrible addiction. It's a horrible addiction that very few of us are able to identify. I've said this a couple times recently, but I feel as though we've become so conditioned in 2022 to the repercussions of eating that we are conditioned to feeling like, okay, I'm going to go have, and I won't name them, but that breakfast sandwich and know that I'll be on the toilet in a half an hour. But we've become conditioned to that, where why do we have to eat and then have repercussions? That's what I'm really trying to understand, why we do that to ourselves. The other part of it is knowing that you can remove refined sugar and still enjoy every single foodstuff you've ever had, from ice cream to cake to whatever.
I'm listening with interest because I think I've decided, like, what happened to me a couple months ago, I thought, I'll be clever. I won't think about what I'm going to have for breakfast. And for the first time in years, basically for 5 months, I've had oatmeal and fruit every day for breakfast. So that's a lot of oats. It's a lot of...
Those are hard to digest.
Well,
those are not easy.
It's fine once in a while, but I just thought, this is great. My thing is, I'm being so clever, I called it. I'm going to Steve Jobs breakfast, which is have the same thing every day. But I realized after talking to my doctor Monday, I'm like, I've increased my amount of that. I've started having sandwiches, which I don't normally do. I don't eat a lot of dairy, but as an ex-drinker, I've said this before, there is something about sugar that alcoholics, it's universal. We crave it. Your body is, because you think about all the sugar that I was putting into my body in the form of alcohol and wine especially. And, any sort of long-term ex-alcoholics that I know, we all crave sugar. So I've got to really watch it too, Jordan. So I think that's part of what was going on. And so about a week ago, I started taking some extra probiotics. I took a couple things. And you know what? All of a sudden, things are starting to feel better.
Have you removed alcohol? Have both of you through this diet removed alcohol?
No, Jordan, I haven't drank. I'm an alcoholic. I haven't drank in 6.5 years. But I'm telling you.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's why I don't. It doesn't matter. But I'm saying, as an ex-drinker, I definitely have a bit of a sugar craving. It's hard for me sometimes because I just feel like I can just eat, like, I'm talking like gummy bears or candy or chocolate,
Yeah, I drink light beer. I never really became part of the wine revolution, where everybody discovered wine and had half a bottle with every dinner every night.
Yeah.
That never happened to me. And liquor, the odd times some scotch, but that's the extent of it.
I only laughed when you said half a bottle because that's so cute. Half a bottle is what you drink while you're opening the other bottles for real.
Hey, but I'll tell you one thing you mentioned, Jordan, was the self-awareness too, because I think the older you get, obviously, over time, you start to realize you do that pro and con thing. It's like, I'd really like to eat that, but I know how I'm going to feel afterwards, so I'm not going to eat it. And I made that determination with, to be honest, McDonald's some time ago, and Howard and I both talked about that. Whatever it is, I can make a hamburger at home and be fine, but I eat one of their hamburgers, and again, it's on the toilet. So,
mine early on, one of my ingredients, believe it or not, was Clamato juice. And so I loved Caesars. I loved
Me too.
Caesars. And they were just, on a Sunday morning, what could be better? Even Bailey's in my coffee. But I'd always have repercussions. now I've become addicted to feeling good.
Yeah.
And it really is, that's the norm. And so if I decide to stray from that, because I have this norm in place, if I have a bite of Häagen-Dazs, for example, it doesn't truly negatively impact me. If I ate it every day,
Yep.
I'd gain 20 pounds and I'd be back to where I started. But a scoop, here and there or every couple months, no repercussions whatsoever.
Chef Jordan Wagman's with us, and I want to get this into the conversation because on the 5th of July, Wednesday, the 6th of July, in the Portlands, which is Polson Street here in the big city, Chef is involved with the KIND, K-I-N-D, Summer Fair, which is a cannabis festival featuring live music, carnival games, a great vibe, lots of food, your favorite cannabis brands, right on Lake Ontario, down at the Portlands there. Just give us kind of an overview, and then we're going to wrap up with, we got some food questions. I got some cooking questions.
I couldn't be prouder, I'll tell you, to be a part of KIND. And so what this is the first of its kind festival. So KIND Magazine, KIND Events and Media, they're the lifestyle magazine in Canada for cannabis. That's what they are. Josh Nagel is behind it. He's a brilliant mind and, full disclosure, good friend. And so I've joined this company and we are creating this 2-day festival. Day one, Dwayne Gretzky is playing. We have live music.
Love
we
them.
Have Love them. First of its kind sampling event where 500 bud tenders are coming in and they're getting this captive audience with the LPs and they're able to communicate and talk about their products. And they're getting cannabis. They're actually leaving with a bunch of cannabis that they, can't consume on site, but certainly once they get home, they can enjoy. But outside, we've got the festival games. We've got food trucks like Rick's Good Eats is coming, and we've got Vietnamese Taqueria, and we've got La Palma coming, and Funnel Cake Express. It's going to be a 2-day unbelievable celebration of cannabis culture. It's really exciting, and I'll tell you, for me personally, being there on the forefront and trying to quote unquote remove this stigma, it's really great to see the normalization of this type of festival. So I'm excited. July 5th and 6th, your tickets at kindsummerfair.ca.
I love that you said that about the normalization. It's no different than you go to Rib Fest or you go to the beer. What was that beer thing I went to down there? They used to have that.
Beer Fest.
Beer Fest. Sorry, thank you. Beer Fest. We walk around, you drink beer, you sample beers. But why is it you're okay to do that where you can sample the beers at a festival, but you can't sample the cannabis at a festival?
Yeah. I mean, it's something that Josh and the team have been able to navigate. But I'll tell you, I'm in London right now for a festival, and today I'm doing a live demonstration. And last night we were part of a liquor licensed event, and everyone was outside, and it's cannabis community. So everyone is consuming cannabis. By that, I mean, everyone's outside smoking joints.
Yeah.
Right. So they said, you cannot consume cannabis in this area where we are licensed. It's insane to me that as a person that doesn't drink, that I can't consume cannabis, which is truly my medicine, but I can consume alcohol.
So when you say, okay, that's the rule, but because, why? Like, what is the...
Because you can't consume cannabis where you're serving alcohol. Period.
Really? What is that, like an Ontario law? Like,
I guess
I'm sure.
I guess so. I don't know.
But you think about how insane that is. Cannabis is legal to consume, but it's not legal to consume in a licensed, or I guess a permitted venue where alcohol is the permit. My question would be, why can't KIND, and this isn't where I wanted to go, but I'll ask it anyway. Why can't the KIND Summer Festival get permitted?
They have a consumption area. There is a consumption area.
All right.
And so there is. And so what? But and again, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I can tell you there are restrictions with how far that has to be from where alcohol is being served.
Because in Canada, citizens are children. That's what it is.
yeah. Well,
it doesn't make sense because you're in an age-gated environment.
I know.
You are allowed to smoke cigarettes and drink, but you're not allowed to smoke joints.
Well, I was going to say that. Would it have something to do with secondhand smoke? But if you're allowed to smoke cigarettes, then obviously that's off the table, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were outside.
Well, like I've been to Beer Fest. I've had drinking on those grounds lots and lots of times. People smoking cigarettes, and by the way, Jeff still also smoking joints.
Yeah, remember those beer fests, Howard? You'd go and you'd drink your beers and you get hammered and get in a fight and stuff like that.
All the time.
Bro.
That's why I went there. I'm like, that's why I went there. As soon as I got off the subway, Fred, I'm like, it's beer, brawling, and bitches. Here I am.
Don't you look at me that way.
You're looking at me. I'll kill you. It's funny. There's I understand the Ontario government, Canada. I think we're in a bit of a shift here where the government is very clear about how to regulate alcohol. They're not totally clear how to deal with alcohol or marijuana.
Right.
And I've said this to Fred before, Jordan, and maybe even you, because we all know that you can have a couple of beers and get in your car because the law says as long as you're below a certain alcohol volume level, you can drive. The same doesn't exist for weed because weed is thought of as either you're high or you're not high. So as soon as you smoke a joint, now you're high. But you're not high at the inebriated level. The same way that, like, if I take a puff of a joint, to use the metaphor or the analogy, it's like a beer. I'm less inebriated, in fact, than if I had a beer. Do you know where I'm heading with this, Jordan?
I do, but I need to clarify something because it's really important to sort of make this distinction. The notion of I'm smoking a joint and I'm getting high, those are not one in the same. You can smoke CBD flower.
No, I understand.
No, but I'm more for the audience. Right?
No, I think the audience gets that. No, I know what you're saying. The thing is, and I've told the problem I see is the language doesn't exist for
100%.
Having a beer version of smoking weed. And I know that, not all weed gets you high, but we're just talking about if you ingest THC, the government has a problem because there's no language around. Well, I can tell you that I saw it again yesterday. They have these signs on the 401 that say slightly high is too high. And my joke and my act is, no, it's not. Slightly high, I can talk to a cop. Too high, I see when I start to cry. So there's a big difference. If I'm too high, I'm not leaving my house. So that's part of the problem with events like yours, and the government doesn't know how to regulate an allowable amount of THC yet. They will.
I think the one thing, and I heard it articulated yesterday, and I thought it was really well said, the alcohol community, the alcohol industry has been around for 100+ years. We are in a nascent industry. So I think we need a little bit of time to catch up. I'm not making excuses for anyone. I'm just trying to rationalize the situation that alcohol has a head start here. Yeah. So I think that we need to be patient. I think that we need to ensure that the people making decisions, that are in place making decisions, are connected in some way or have an understanding of the plant. And the other part of it is we're all an end of one. The endocannabinoid system reacts differently for each and every one of us to different cannabinoids. So it's really hard. Alcohol is to say alcohol. Cannabis, there are so many different variables within the cannabis.
Right. Let me throw this at you because it's something I've thought about, not being much of a smoker, if at all, to be honest. The aspect of invading space. Again, I was at a Blue Jay game a few weeks ago. We walk out, and the air was thick with marijuana, the smell of it. And to be honest with you, it was a little bit too strong for me. And somebody come back, that drunk beside me could bang into me and, cause a whole different set of problems. But I just wonder in some situations, you talk about alcohol and you talk about marijuana. If I'm sitting having a beer, do I want to smell that very pungent odor or whatever you want to call it from 4 or 5 tables over. What about that aspect of it? Because to someone who smokes all the time, maybe they're not thinking of that aspect of it.
I smoke all the time. I'm what they call a very high functioning pothead. And
Is that what we call ourselves?
you can call me that.
No,
Yeah,
I'm-
high functioning pothead, sure. You know, I wouldn't do that personally, you know, just because I'm a human and can, you know, have some appreciation for others. But it's an issue, and it's something that we have to figure out.
Sure.
But consumption lounges are going to are coming online and going to be a thing. Should you be able to smoke cannabis on the patio where you're not allowed to smoke cigarettes? No, of course not.
Absolutely not. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, of course.
And I would tell you this, if you're smoking the kind of weed that makes that smell, smoke better weed. Because that is some stinky shit. Jordan, the Kind Summer Fair, July 5 and 6, Portland's cool. It's going to be fun. Before we go, because it wouldn't be an appearance of yours without some food questions. Now, again, I like the idea, and I'm going to start doing it. I'm going to start to take away some stuff and see if that helps my stomach. Because I can tell you, you know, doctors, GPs, they're great for a lot of things, but they're not into the minutia of food and supplements. That's not where they exist. So I've gotten some good advice from people like you. But let's just talk quickly some cooking techniques. Fred and I have had this discussion a bunch of times about cooking, steak cooking. You know what I've loved, and this spring I've cooked more of, are those big bone-in pork chops. I like them for a couple of reasons, not the least of which, and I made some a few weeks ago when I had the kids here. But you can get a whole bunch of them for $30. You know what I mean? You can get like a decent-ish steak for $30, but you can get a lot of pork. What are your thoughts on that as a, people who may not barbecue pork chops because they just have to have their steaks?
Yeah, listen, I love changing it up. I love, I really subscribe to the notion that we need to walk different aisles and buy different products, right? To go outside of our comfort zone. Pork chops are great. For the money, that's, I love when my money goes a little bit further.
Yeah.
Using offcuts that, instead of that strip loin or ribeye, try a top sirloin. But pork for me, honestly, my kids love it. And what I do is I'll put it in a brine before I cook it. So a little bit of salt, water, and maple syrup because I don't use the refined sugar. Mm-hmm. So that sort of breaks down and enters into that pork and makes it extra juicy, giving you a little bit more leeway on that cooking. Mm-hmm. So even if you were to overcook it, and we've talked about resting our proteins for 30 to 50% of its cooking time. So once you've rested that pork chop, amazing. But here's one secret. Here's one tip. Whether you choose to brine that pork chop or not, pan, sear, or grill, my favorite thing to do is take your favorite marinade, your favorite barbecue sauce, your favorite vinaigrette, salad vinaigrette. You put it in a bowl. You take these pork chops off the barbecue or out of the pan, and you toss it in that vinaigrette or that sauce the moment it comes out, and it starts to coat it. And I love.
Okay, back up again there. Hang on a second. What do you do?
So I take same premise applies for all my vegetables, different fruits that I'm going to cook, and proteins. So I love, instead of a lot of times we'll put dry rubs or wet marinades on something and then cook it.
Yeah, like right? I do this pork marinade. It's mustard, honey, garlic in a bag, and some soy sauce, and I just toss it up. That's the pre-cooking stage. You're talking about something different.
Post, like tossing a chicken wing, right?
Right, exactly. And what I would do is I would take that mixture that you just outlined, that sweet mixture, the mustard and honey. I would have that in a bowl. When my pork chops come off the barbecue, I would put that in the bowl and toss it in that sauce again.
Wow.
So now you've got also a very different flavor profile because you've caramelized those sugars. You've caramelized the mustard that was on the outside originally, and now you're tossing it in and giving it almost
I love
a different
that.
Flavor profile.
No, I love
but
it.
But it's built on the same flavors.
Boy, I'm going to try that. A question I have for you on, trying to save money and eat economically. My buddy put me onto this butcher shop in Mississauga, and they have what they call a hanger steak or a butcher's cut. And you don't see them everywhere, but they're very reasonably priced and always tender. Why do you not see that more often? So I'll drive half an hour to this place to get these steaks, and they're about $10 each, but it'll feed two of us, and always tender, always delicious.
And you're slicing it thin, and you're slicing it thinly.
Sometimes we have it on a bun, and sometimes I just throw it on the plate and slice it thinly as I eat it.
So hanger steaks, those skirt steaks, those flank steak types of cuts, that is where people don't appreciate that they eat so beautifully. It's all in how you're cutting it. Number one, first and foremost, always against the grain. In those steaks, in those cuts, you see very clearly where the lines of meat are going. You're always going perpendicular to those lines of meat.
Okay.
That helps to make the meat very tender. But you're absolutely right. One of my favorite steaks, the hanger, the skirt type of steak, my favorite.
Listen, man, what a wide-reaching conversation. It started off you talking about how much you liked us, and then we talked a little bit of food allergies, then we talked about the Kind Festival, then we talked about some regulation stuff, and then we finished it off with some food tips. I mean, if you want to go back to the beginning and just talk a little bit more about, what Humble and Fred have meant to you over the over the years, please take your time.
You both look great.
Thank you, pal.
You both look great. I have to say, you look great. Yeah, you look healthy. Congratulations.
Jordan, we will hopefully one day get a chance to eat some of your food together, all together, you, me, Freddie, Mike, some people. Until then, stay healthy, well, and good luck with the festival, and we'll be catching up with you in a couple months, okay? There he is,
pleasure, guys. Have a great
Chef
day.
Jordan Wagman.
Thanks, buddy.
What an excellent person he is. Hey, Freddie. Hey, Freddie.
Yo.
If you're going to do one of our sponsors,
Right.
I'll do the other. If you're not going to do that now, I'll do the other one. But you go ahead and choose what you're going to do, and I will make an adjustment.
Well, we should mention the Stanley Cup Final begins tonight, Howard. The Colorado Avalanche host the Tampa Bay Lightning in what should be a great series. I haven't watched a lot of hockey this playoff season, but this series I may tune in because it's two fine teams. In Game 1 in Denver, the Avalanche minus 160. Again, a decided favor, the over-under 6 on this game. And you can play this game, obviously, at Bodog. Whether you're a sports bettor, a horse racing fan, a poker or casino player, Bodog, your number one source of online gambling entertainment. From their industry-leading odds, world-class sportsbook, and feature-rich poker room to their fully loaded casino and racebook, they've been providing Canadian players with an unparalleled gaming experience since 1994. That's Bodog.
I didn't wear my health gauge watch last night. I had taken it off before bedtime because I had a massage. There's one of the settings on my chair is good night sleep. So sometimes I do that, like a 20-minute or just before I go upstairs. What?
No, you love that chair.
I do. So I took off the health gauge watch. So when I woke up this morning, I had no idea how many hours I slept.
Sounds like you're in a relationship.
I am. I told you the chair's name is Alice. Like when you do the in voice activated, you say hello, Alice, and she goes, "I'm listening." That's literally the first. I'm like, wow. You're not like any woman I've ever met. Anyway. My point is, every day, one of the first things I do is I check my health gauge Phoenix. Not only do I want to see the quality of my sleep, but it's interesting to see, I like to see if my blood pressure is, higher, or if you want to look at your heart rate. There's so many other aspects to this that it's all part of the well-being. It's not just steps. Yes, they're there. Calories. Yes, that's that. You can track that. But at healthgauge.com, you'll find this Phoenix rises with so many other aspects, whether it's pulse wave, heart rate, variability, and so many others. Keep track of your health at healthgauge.com and use the promo code HumbleFredHG for a 15% off bonus at checkout. That's healthgauge.com. Check it out. And when you do, HumbleFredHG for 15% off. Yeah, that was good. That thing about tossing the... But it's funny, because I always use the marinade, especially for pork chops. I just put it in a baggie, garlic, mustard, soy sauce, olive oil, some honey. It's like a classic pork chop. But I've never thought of setting that aside and then tossing it. Now, did you get an answer? Do you, even if you've used that marinade, do you toss it again in the marinade at the end? And why not, really?
Yes, and I don't know if he's talking about the actual marinade he used or just taking a salad dressing, oil-based salad dressing or something and tossing it in.
Mm-hmm.
I guess either. But the problem is that marinade from the beginning has been sitting with uncooked meat, so I'm not sure if you would want to do that. At the end, you might want something fresh. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you.
Makes sense, though. I think that's what they do in Italian restaurants with a pork chop, because if I go to an Italian restaurant and they have pork chop on the menu, often I'll order it. And now that I think of it, that's what the presentation is like. When it comes, it's like it's got something on it, not barbecue sauce.
Mm-hmm. No, I know. It's got,
something on it that's just so good,
I just like that. I'm going to try that because, and again, I find pork chops not only cheaper and easier to cook, but they can be a bit dry. When they're sort of just past medium, they start to dry out a little quicker.
Absolutely.
That marinade, that could be an antidote to my dry pork. Speaking of dry porking.
Oh, Jesus.
Hello.
Hello, Timmy.
Morning.
I would never say that if we weren't dear friends. Hello, my friend. There
Good
is
morning, gentlemen. I'm getting hungry listening to you guys.
I know.
Here.
I was at the course yesterday with a colleague of ours, a fantastic guy, Bill Hertz, who used to, when we first started this podcast, was our main source of income and sales. And I said, that car right there, I said, that's one of our clients. That's the retirement Sherpa, Bill. That's how far we've come.
He was there getting his butt kicked in a singles match last night.
Oh, you were?
Oh, yes, I was. Yeah.
Oh, buddy.
I needed to have my best game to win, and I did not. I was no Howard on Monday.
So, describe getting your butt kicked. How does that work? Like by several strokes, or what's the deal there?
Oh, yeah. I got kind of Stephen Ames'd yesterday.
Yeah.
I was getting 2 strokes on the front 9 to a guy who shot 38. And suffice it to say, I haven't shot 40 on the front 9 for a while. So, yeah, it was a tough day.
It was match play, so you basically, it doesn't matter what your total score is. You just win hole by hole. And whenever you've won enough holes, that there are more holes that you're up and there's less. So when you've won 4 holes and there's only 3 holes to go, you're said to have won 4 and 3. The reference, though, that Tim's talking about is a great golf reference. Years ago, Stephen Ames was just on the tour, kind of an up-and-coming kind of, bit of a character or whatever, and he had a match to play against Tiger Woods, and he said something to the effect of, yeah, I know, Tiger's not playing that well. I think I can give him a good game, or he might not. Whatever, he chirped him, and Tiger came out and beat him 9 and 8. That means he won 9 of the first 10 holes, and the match was over just past the beginning of the back 9.
Insurmountable, yeah. Wow.
Anyway, let me just say this. The retirement Sherpa is with us. He is Tim Niblett. You're not. You're not qualified to Sherpa people. He is. Tim.Niblett at RaymondJames.ca. Tim is also the club captain at the golf course that I'm also a member of. And it's an honor to be parked a few doors down from him. It's exciting when I pull into the parking lot.
Well, just the mere presence of us so close to each other is exciting.
It is exciting. And, thank you for that reference to Monday's personal best at Glencairn. It was quite a day.
Yeah, amazing. Which 9s were you on again? I know that was a long time ago.
I think Speyside, Leithfield. It ended on Leithfield. Yeah, I think it might be Scotchblock. I was 3 under on the front, 2 under on the back. It was crazy.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I've got my Tampa Bay Lightning shirt on tonight, Fred, just in honor of the NHL playoffs there.
Yes, I was thinking about that yesterday. What it must be like to be a Tampa Bay Lightning fan and be rewarded so much over the past few years.
Yeah, I can imagine it's
Greenland.
awkward for you because you can. I'm sure part of your imagination can get your head around. I might see this team maybe before I die win, but you ain't going to see a three-peat. You're not going to see the Leafs dynasty.
No.
Well, and I think it's cool that you're cheering for the Tampa Bay. Tim spends a good amount of his year in Florida, and of course, what Tim is also doing is helping people through the good times, and there are some bad times. And let's start with today. How would you look at what's going on in the markets right now? As I quickly try and find the notes you gave us, but maybe you can begin. And just lead this and tell us where we're going in the world of the markets and that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as I mentioned, my kind of 30th anniversary in the biz present on Monday was some markets entering bear territory, which means they've dropped 20% off of their highs. So, at times like this, perspective is kind of high on the priority list there. It's not fun. It's happened before. It's going to happen again. It always straightens out. So one of the things we've got to do during times like this is stay rational when markets and investors appear to be behaving. You could actually also say / computers appear to be behaving irrationally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, isn't it funny, though, when it comes to money, people become irrational. And obviously, you're in the same situation when times are good. People just assume that's the way it is. That's the way it's supposed to be when I invest money. But as you say, you gotta look at that long-term graph because, as you say, it comes up and it goes down and it goes up and it goes down.
Well, markets are full of people, right? Mm-hmm. And computers programmed by people. Mm-hmm. That's becoming a more and more sizable portion of the trading on a daily basis. But hey, there's uncertainty right now, and people don't like uncertainty, right? We've got the inflation, of course. We've got central banks trying to figure out what to do with interest rates. We've got the war. We've got the COVID continuing. We got China having problems because of COVID, but other than that,
there's a few things in the article I found this. There's a few things I love, and we're talking about the worldwide economy is having a difficult time. However, Canadian, U.S. economies are in relatively good shape versus the rest of the planet. And then the phrase, "we're the cleanest dirty shirt in the laundry." Sort of speak to that. Like, we may not be having a great time, but we're definitely positioned better here versus some of the other jurisdictions.
Right. Expectations are stronger for North America. The U.S. has been a leading light, political joy aside, for quite a while. Canada won last year, is doing better so far this year. They've lost a bit, but not as much, which is somewhat abnormal. Usually the U.S. outstrips Canada on average. But yeah, conditions like we got right now really help financials and energy, and the Canadian market is made up of a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess in your position, a lot of people would ask the question, how long, Tim? When is this going to turn around? There's no definitive answer for that other than it will.
Yeah, sadly, us having a meeting or a conversation about this doesn't indicate the end by any means, mm-hmm. The right. Bottoming, as the term goes. I do kind of feel, and certainly not just myself, many more learned types that I follow, days like last Friday, days like Monday, usually there's just that little bit of last minute craziness before things straighten around. And again, I'm not saying that's going to happen this week by any means, but part of why we're having inflation is there's a lot of companies making money, so they should be going up in value, not down in value right now. So disruption brings a lot of opportunity too. So if you've got the right money managers on your side, they can find some companies that have been, the proverbial baby, thrown it with the bathwater, right? Ones that are much better metrics, much better businesses, and going to bounce back much better as well.
Well, we've learned this from you, and it's true that emotions drive markets. And the trick, I guess, is to be emotionally neutral when it comes to, all of a sudden freaking out and going to cash and taking your money out and trying to time the markets. Because as you began at the beginning of this, it's always been this way. The problem with us is that we're so impatient, and then we get worried. And again, part of being our age is you think, well, how long can I wait for it to come back before I'm moving into Fred's shed?
It's a nice shed, though.
It is.
It's a very nice
Lovely
one.
shelving.
Yeah, we've talked in the past about the emotional disconnects about this and other things, of course, as well. So, hey, it doesn't mean you shouldn't pay attention. Although some people are better off not opening their statement, that's okay too. It'll be fine.
Yep.
I do half jokingly say when things are good, pay attention. When things are bad, let us take care of things.
Yep.
Right, and it's true.
I like that philosophy, though.
Sure, right? Because we're watching every single day. Somebody's doing something on your portfolio within the funds you own, or the ETFs, or stocks, or whatever.
Yeah.
So something's always happening every day. But yeah, again, doesn't mean that you shouldn't review whether your portfolio mix is correct currently and going forward, and for your comfort level and for your needs. So it's still a very good time to keep on top of things. We're just in the midst of going through a pretty in-depth portfolio review of our model portfolios with one of our partners. So it's an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
And as you've said many times over the years, times like this also presents opportunity. So there can be an upside.
Yeah, we just had a client in yesterday who's getting an awesome, very well-deserved bonus. Super helped a company do very, very well, and is getting rewarded appropriately. Well, the good news is this is a pretty darn good time to be entering the market, right? Not necessarily all at once or all in the same spot by any means, but yeah, for people with RSP, TFSA, whatever contributions, intuitively they might not want to do it right now because of the choppiness, but in every time this has happened, guys, and I've been through a few of these over the years, once it straightens out, you go, shoot, those are such great opportunities to take advantage of, right?
Absolutely.
Well, that was one of the first things, and I read this years ago, that Buffett said that McDonald's isn't going to stop serving hamburgers, and ABC isn't going to stop producing shows, and Disney won't. They'll still be a Disney. So when those companies become available at maybe a lower price, that's the time to invest in them.
Yeah, that Jimmy Buffett, he's more than just a singer. That's for sure.
All right. Tim.Niblett at RaymondJames.ca. That's how you get a hold of him. I don't know why this is also... There we go. Little emotion as we say goodbye today. Tim, any final thoughts, my friend? You seem stumped.
Well, I always feel emotional when we say goodbye, so I guess that's an appropriate song there, right?
Okay,
so,
buddy.
Looks
Right
like
on.
a beautiful day. If you're in the GTA, make sure you hydrate and enjoy and profit.
I will see
Right
you.
on.
I hope to see you a little bit later today, just to talk over your emotional state as a golfer. I'm always there for you. Tim.Niblett at RaymondJames.ca. Thanks, Timmy.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys.
All right,
Thanks,
there
buddy.
you go. Retirement Sherpa.
Words of a broken heart is just emotion that's taking me over.
Fred,
It's sorrow.
Why is there music over the years that you didn't appreciate enough at the time?
oh, this is a great song.
Nah, it's another band, right? That was just over there for me.
Yeah.
But then 40 years later, it's like, wow, they were good.
Well,
Wow.
yeah, we talked about that last year when the Bee Gees documentary came out.
Yeah.
It's just amazing how many songs they have. You know what else is amazing? DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps, has arrived in Ontario. Now, by now, you know you can legally bet on all your favorite sports, from MMA to hockey to hoops, playoffs, so much more. You can bet special parlays and spreads and money lines and more. Plus, do it now from anywhere in the province. Join the action. Download the app and explore everything DraftKings Sportsbook has to offer. Get excited. As you can tell, we are. DraftKings Sportsbook is live. Go to the App Store now, download the Sportsbook app that's offering 2-to-1 odds on a team to score a goal during the playoffs in June. And you said to me Tampa Bay and Colorado starts tonight, right?
Yes.
Get into the action now then. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. 19 plus, physically present in Ontario. Eligibility restrictions apply. See sportsbook.draftkings.com for details. If you have a gambling problem, call Connex Ontario, 1-866-531-2600. Please play responsibly.
In this world to kiss goodnight.
Dan, are you your rehearsal? Your show is tomorrow night. Are you any more rehearsing? Are you rehearsing your show?
Yeah, I did the rehearsing yesterday. Went down to the Peterborough Theatre Guild and did a little stage work there with Lisa.
All right.
And so we seem to be pretty ready to go. But
Yeah.
she wants to do another, maybe a quick afternoon reversion of it. And then we'll be ready.
So you,
Afternoon delight.
yeah, I was going to say, you actors, once you finished your work for the day, I guess it's all hot and you're sweaty and like, hey, we really connected today. And then there's music playing and you embrace and then, you know, that type of thing.
Yes.
Another,
Wow, you've really nailed it there.
oh, yeah. Did you, speaking of nailing it, did you?
I can't say a thing now.
What does that remind us?
Yeah.
What does that reminded me a little bit of Scruff there for a second? Speaking of nailing it.
Beaten meats.
Oh, Scruffy. Oh, Scruffy.
That's true. There was actually a place called, the little town of Beaton, and it was called Beaton Meats. And he latched onto that. I think he actually had a deal with them or something.
Good for him. Well, we would have, but hey, we're not too proud to have done that.
Oh, it was great.
Beaten meats.
I was talking to his son on the weekend, who's become a big-time real estate agent in Winnipeg now, and has no interest in getting back into the radio business.
Good for him.
That's TJ Connors, yeah. Good lad.
Very good lads. Speaking of good lads, here's one right in front of us, everyone.
Now, here's to a fella named Dan Duran, a hell of a guy with a hella big wang, the quintessential anchor man. His voice is nice and low. Dan Duran, the anchorman comes. As for credentials, he has none. Can't tell a headline from his bum, but his voice is nice and low. Dan Duran, the anchorman's here. He's prone to falling off his chair, but he's got a big wang, so he don't care, and his voice is nice and low.
My voice is nice and low.
And now, live from Lakeside, just a mere meters away from Fred's trailer. And after the show, I guess do you guys get together and do a hot tub or what, I don't know, whatever happens.
Well, yesterday we spent the day working on Buddy Darren's dock, so it was a nice afternoon.
So you're like dock workers now. That's cool.
Yeah.
You guys are dock workers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, you guys.
Yeah.
You guys
recovering
got
from the big storm, right?
it all. You got it all. You got it all, man. You're lake people. You're dock workers. Here's Dan Duran.
We missed the opportunity yesterday to wish Donald Trump a happy birthday.
Yeah.
Yesterday, he turned 76 years old. And of course, we could have contributed to his birthday card. Don Jr., on the same day, actually, as the revelations of the January 6th Committee on Trump's stolen election grift, asked MAGA fans to sign his official birthday card. Now, here's some passages from that email.
Yep.
My father has done so much for this great country, and I know it would mean so much to him to see your name on his official birthday card. This is President Trump's only official birthday card. So make sure you sign this one and not the other fake ones out there. Hurry, there's not much time left. I can only save your spot for 20 minutes.
And how much was that worth?
Well, as little as $1, or they had other
Other options, yeah.
Other options, like a $20 up to $200, $2,500.
I would have spent $1 to say "fuck off and die."
Yeah. When I heard he was turning 76, that was his birthday age yesterday. This is the absolute truth. I thought to myself, why won't you hurry up and die, Donald Trump? And then I started singing that to myself, a la Corky and the Juice Pigs kind of vibe. Hurry up and die, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. Hurry up and have a painful death, painful death. When will you depart this planet, you fucking asshole, Donald Trump.
What was that? Wood chipper. You
Don
wanna put him in a
Chipper,
wood
yeah.
chipper?
Sorry, I got mixed up there at the end. Yeah, Wood
Hey.
Chipper. That's my nickname for him.
Dan, we had this conversation yesterday while repairing the dock.
Dock workers.
And I believe just like Howard said, I said he must go. Like he must decease.
Yeah, remember that song the guys used to do? Die, he must die.
must die. I
Hummel
sang
and
that.
Fred must die. Jaime must die. We should do that, Dan. We should do that for Donald Trump. Die, he must die.
Die.
Donald Trump
Donald
must
Trump
die.
must die.
Die, he must die. How is he still fucking alive? He looks like he's a fucking bulbous, sweaty, misshapen, incontinent drug. I saw a close-up of his face. He looks like he has been snorting something for a very long time. His nose is all fucked up.
Oh yeah,
Fuck.
fucked up.
Fucked up nose.
He reminds me of one of those bobblehead things that are in the, you hang on your car dashboard.
Yes.
Those bobbleheads,
Yes.
Anyway.
Well spoken, Dan Duran.
Yeah.
Dan, we have we have committee. We have a committee we're forming with
good.
chairmans Fred and Howard.
Well, I love committees.
You're welcome to be here. If you have any,
yes.
you're going to be on the committee. You're on the committee because it's.
thank you.
Yeah, you're on the.
Great.
You're a committee person.
You're a committee
Okay.
person. You're
Gonna
part of
call the committee to order. Is there?
We're going to call this committee to order.
Yeah.
Judges Humble and Fred presiding, and much like the J6 investigation, there's been things going on behind the scenes. Trying to speak to witnesses, and we've called together some of the players. I will call to our select committee calls Toronto Mike, a.k.a. Mike Boone, who has been producing this program lovingly for the last couple of years, but has been a friend of ours and a supporter of ours. In fact, we've told the story of the very first podcast we did at Dan Duran's home, which is why he's on the committee, was arranged with the help of Mike Boone. In fact, Mike put that first podcast onto the internet, as we used to call it. And that was back in 2006. So we've known Mike a long time. Chairman Fred, do you have any opening remarks?
Other than what we're about to hear is very disheartening and disturbing as friends of this fine young man who has been accused of things that he could not even imagine or have crossed through his brain, let alone do them. How are we going to how is this?
Well, first of all, Chairman Fred, Chairman Howard, I take back the time for a second. I'm just a bit curious why we called this gentleman to our select committee hearing and yet didn't comb his hair. But that's a different story. Fucking Boone. If I had Boone's, seriously, if I had Boone's hair, I would burn mine. His hair is so luscious and strong. Anyway, Boone.
Howard, Fred, do you know where you two were 9 years ago tonight? Where were you?
Dude, you're talking. I didn't know if I put deodorant on this morning, so I don't know.
So
9 years.
That was June 15th, 2019? Or no, when is that? 13. I'm sorry, yeah. What?
So on this day in 2013, you two were in the distillery district, dressed in your finest threads, attending my wedding to Monica.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't recall that event. Chairman Glass. Yeah, Chairman Howard
Anthony's gonna love that,
has will be not speaking to that issue. This is not my trial, Boone.
What's
Howard's
interesting?
Still not allowed in the Philippines, I believe.
Yeah, apparently.
What's interesting about that, it was 2013. We had been doing the podcast, obviously, for a couple of years by then, and I still didn't have my head fully around the fact that you had a drinking problem. I didn't. Isn't that weird? Because you were at that wedding, obviously, overindulging, and then, ultimately making a fool of yourself. And
excuse me, is there a gavel? I'm sorry. Let's just bring this to order. How is this? It's Humble Howard is not on trial here today. Although I do remember that afternoon because you and I and Doll and Lady Friend, yes, that's right, Lady Friend, we met you guys for drinks prior to. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Sitting there in that bar in the afternoon. So my drinking that day started pretty early, and then it got pretty...
If I may, Your Honor.
I'm sorry. Not Your Honor. Chairman Humble, Chairman Fred, Committeeman Dan Duran. Okay.
Somewhere in the Toronto Mic'd archives, Anthony Petrucci came over, delighted to tell the full story of Howard going into the kitchen. And then,
we all know.
He drunk off his ass and then making that speech and offending the entire country of the Philippines.
Yes, the Philippines and I are still...
Happy anniversary to my beloved wife, Monica. 9 years, still madly in love, and it's amazing I'm still on a show with you guys. And
it's a wonderful story.
It is. And this is by way of background, ladies and gentlemen, that Toronto Mike only stands for goodness. You may not like every podcast that's out there. You may not... have an opinion about whether we are doing a good job or he is or Dan, and that's fine. You can be critical of content without being personally critical of critical of a person's character. So content is fine. Say you don't like the show. That's fine. Not everyone does.
You don't like my voice. You don't like my delivery.
I'm just saying in general. In general. You don't like the jokes I tell on stage. That's fine.
Right.
You don't have to, but what we're about to present, and we're going to get to it eventually.
Would the chair recognize
Hold on,
Dan
committee
Duran?
member, Chairman Humble recognizes Committeeman Dan Duran.
The thing about these committees that take a long time, can we get to the point at some point?
How dare you?
Oh, why do you have to be?
I'm sorry.
To be somewhere,
do you have to jump in the fucking lake and wash your balls? Is that what's...
I don't know the name of this committee. I don't know what's coming.
Order.
Got important.
Sorry, Fred.
What you just said, too, if you don't like someone's product, there's no reason to get personal. You just don't like their product. But what we're about to hear is much beyond that.
Yes.
This is personal accusations that are just untrue. So it's beyond I don't like that guy's show. I think it sucks. He's a fucking asshole. This is more than that, which has really been bothering me for some time now.
Thank you, Chairman Fred. Chairman Humble recognizes the complainant. We call our first witness Toronto Mike Boone. Mike, why don't you explain to the people what we're talking about?
Sure. Okay, so I'll start by saying I actually dropped a special piece of audio in the Toronto Mike feed this morning. So there's actually a link in the chat for this Facebook stream as well. So there's episode 1066. The first half hour is all this new content. So I know you guys don't have a half an hour. So I'm going to give you the Humble and Fred version, which is 2 minutes.
We do, but apparently Dan doesn't.
Yeah, we would love to listen, but Dan's got Mike, I don't know if you've heard,
I'll cut to the chase, though.
But Committeeman Dan is rehearsing for a non-speaking part in a musical where he just stands around like a fucking mannequin being twirled by his girlfriend. But he's got places to go. I'm sorry, Mike.
So again, the 30 minutes, if you want the full story, the full context, go to episode 1066.
But give us the top line or whatever people call that, yeah.
So what's interesting to me is this story goes back all the way to 2009, and it actually has a Humble and Fred component. This piece of audio I dropped in 1066 features Humble and Fred show audio, because let me tell you the quick story as fast as I can here, which is in 2009, Fearless Fred Kennedy is recruited from a station in Edmonton to work on The Edge 102 in Toronto. Okay? So Fearless Fred moves from Edmonton to Toronto to be on 102.1. As I cover radio, I've been doing so since 2002, I wrote about this. But like you said, Howard, all the fair game stuff, how he broadcasts his persona on the air, all that stuff that's fair game for a radio professional. Nothing to do with his personal life at all. I don't touch that with a 10-foot pole. But at some point in 2009, Fearless Fred gets his wires crossed. It gets his wires crossed and somehow conflates or decides that some bad things that are happening to him and his family online are actually my doing. And he goes on your show, Humble and Fred podcast, in 2011, and you guys have him on the phone. And Howard, because you knew about another interview he did where he said basically that he hates Toronto Mike, you asked him about his relationship with Toronto Mike, and Fearless Fred goes into this long rambling diatribe about how I've made his life a living hell, and the Toronto Mike, they did terrible things about his wife and his family, but he doesn't give specifics. But this happens in 2011. Kelly Contreras is on that show. And that audio is in 1066 if you want to hear it. But let's fast forward.
No. Let's just take your time for a second. So during a conference,
take your time.
Yeah, Dan, if you have to go jump in the lake for your morning bath, you let us know.
Okay, all right.
But to be clear,
yes,
even when he was on our podcast, and you say 2011,
right?
He had already a problem with you, and this is the part I need to be clear about. That we should be clear.
Yep.
What he thought you did was Photoshop pictures of his wife at a gangbang.
Into gangbang photos, yes.
Into gangbang photos. And so that's one part of the story.
And share it on my platform.
Share it on your platform.
That's one.
Another part of this same story is that you've been accused of somehow causing or making an entry about how Fearless Fred caused our friend Marty Streak to kill himself. And by the way, someone that Fearless Fred and the other knucklehead didn't even fucking know.
Right.
So please
the other
continue.
Knucklehead might have known him, but we'll get to that.
I don't think he did. Did he? Oh, maybe he did.
I don't know. But they worked together for a while. But yes, so these are the key two things that are in Fearless Fred's head since 2009 that Toronto Mike, photoshopped pictures of his wife's face into gangbang photos and shared it with the masses via my platform. That's the first thing he believes I did. And the second thing is I spread this myth that Fearless Fred caused the suicide of Martin Streak. And that resulted, according to Fred, in hundreds and hundreds of emails, abusive emails to him because I, Toronto Mike, declared that Fred caused Streak to hang himself. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is all 2009 and then going into 2011 on your show. But Fred has the good sense never to put any of this on 102.1 or Q107 where he's working today. So he never puts it in the public realm. But apparently he's sharing this story with colleagues and friends for years because Derringer's story, this is key. Jennifer Valentine drops that video the Saturday of the long weekend in May 2-4 weekend. Then at some point, I, as a guy who covers this kind of thing, this is what I do, Toronto Mike, I put a post on TorontoMike.com. I call it the allegations against John Derringer, and I say, here's Jennifer Valentine's video. Here's Jackie Delaney on Toronto Mike. Here's a